Hi, this is Rodrigo from Frame Freak Studio, and this is the Creative Hostler Show. Today, I have Channing Winget. She's an amazing illustrator, but also she creates a lot of plushies. And this interview is something that I wanted to make because I know many friends of mine who are illustrators and wants to get into the crafts and start selling it. So that's why she's here, because she has a lot of experience in that. We found her work through CTNX in 2016, and now we reached to her and she has said yes. So welcome, Channing.
Thank you.
So for the people who don't know about you, can you tell us a little bit about your history? How did you go from illustration to creating plushies and selling them?
Well, I kind of actually, I guess I got into illustration and plush kind of in tandem as I was growing up. I'm sure a lot of people out there like have been drawing since they were a little kid, you know, because that's just what you do, and you like keep going with drawing because that's what you're good at. And that's kind of how I started too. I just have always been drawing. And then when I was 9 years old, my mom found this book from the library that was like how to make miniature teddy bears. And she was like, oh, Channing kind of likes to sew. Maybe she'd like to check this out. And I loved that book so much. I was like sewing teddy bears all the time. I would like make them for my family members and like sell them for like a couple of bucks a piece because I was like a kid. And I eventually got into like making patterns from there. And then in like high school, I found this Pokemon collectors community, and they were super into like custom plush and stuff. And I was like, oh, I make plush, I can do that. And that's how I got into like doing commissions and selling my work. And then it's just evolved from there into my own designs.
And I imagined that this will be this way, but how did the career in illustration help you out to create the plushies?
Well, it's super helpful to have like the skill of drawing, and so I can like design like what I want to make in 2D, in 2 dimensions, and just kind of like draw a turnaround. And then from there, then I can start thinking like 3-dimensionally, and I'll already have like the design, how I want it to look, and then just think, okay, how do I make like the pattern pieces to create this thing that I've drawn, but in 3 dimensions and as a physical thing. And so it's super helpful to be able to like, I don't know, like visually brainstorm stuff like that without having to actually sew everything first.
Nice. And between these 2 careers, like illustration and pretty much making crafts, which one is the one that you enjoy more and why?
Oh, that is hard. I guess I would say I enjoy making plush more, but they really go hand in hand. But I do like having like the finished product that I can hold in my hands, that I get from plush that I just don't quite get from doing illustration. But it's really like they both feed each other and inspire each other. So, but yeah, I would say plush is probably my favorite.
Nice. This is going to be a little bit tricky question, but when you started your career, was there something that you didn't expect at all to happen that actually happened, became true, and is really important in what you do?
Let's see. I guess like when I first started, let me see. I'm terrible at phrasing things sometimes. I don't know, like just through the years, I guess I found that like networking is a super important thing that I like. When I first started out, I wouldn't have thought. I'm just like, yeah, I'll just make my stuff and people will buy it and it's super cool. But like going through college and stuff, and they like really hammer on like you have to be networking with people and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, but that's hard. I don't want to do that. But like it's so important, I found, to okay, another window opened up. That was weird. It's really important to make sure that you surround yourself with other people who are also like creative and are working, doing similar things as you. So you have like a group of people to be like a sounding board, to like talk about like different struggles and stuff that you're having, and like they can have like different points of view on how to solve problems that you're facing. They can help you. I mean, like getting jobs is the one that most people talk about with networking, but they can also like give you cool resources for your art, or like tell you about cool like gallery opportunities, or like a cool book that they found or something. And so it's so important to like surround yourself with like-minded people that are like doing similar stuff as you, to, I don't know, just have a cool, networking.
And I think you're not alone in that, because I see that this word, like networking, it has like a bad connotation for many people. And I think that the first reaction that many artists have when they hear it for the first time is, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, I think that's what that comes more naturally. But for me, it happened the same. Like in the entrepreneurship, I started like even virtually, like hanging around with other entrepreneurs from all over the world. And yeah, I definitely agree with what you say, because many of the things that I've been able to do and many opportunities that I've been able to tap came from somebody posting in a Facebook group or their wall, like, oh, like, look, this is just some new technology or something that happened. And for example, right now we have this business register in the US, but and we have it for a couple of years now, but back then we didn't have a visa to enter the US. And then a friend of ours put like a comment there like, oh, look, Stripe is launching this new program called Atlas. And through that, like, I applied immediately because that allowed you to register a business inside the US, even though you were living outside.
Yeah.
And I was able, because I was one of the first people who applied, I was able to enter like this beta testing group, and they didn't charge us anything. So pretty much we registered the business for free.
Oh, wow.
And that came from like this guy. I have met him since 2012, and pretty much but by having this connection and talking with him like from time to time, I was like, one of these posts pretty much help us out a lot, because in my country we cannot take like online payments, and now we can, thanks to the business in the US. So yeah, definitely I think like it is really important, that part, like networking and having people who are in the same kind of things that you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that most people do not value that enough. Like, they do not stress enough how a big deal that is.
Yeah, for sure.
What was kind of the things that you didn't like about the idea of networking?
Oh, I guess it just the whole idea was just kind of like this looming, like, you have to do it, you have to go talk to strangers. And like honestly, there was this class in college called what was it, Business for the Professional Artist, that wasn't required for some reason. Like, it should be required for like an art major, but it wasn't. And I never took it, specifically because one of the assignments was you had to like cold call someone in the industry, and I was like, that's terrifying. I don't want to just like call some random person on the phone. And so I never took the class just for that reason. And I don't know, I just am like afraid of like being annoying, just like pestering people like, oh, hey, you're famous in the industry, can you help me, a lowly student, or like this dumb little illustrator doing. And I don't know, it's just a dumb thing that you have to get over. Like, everyone's a cool person generally. Like, most people are happy to help you out and like share tips and stuff for you. You just have to like reach out and be a cool normal person. And they probably will be a cool normal person back to you.
And you know, this is funny because in entrepreneurship, this is something that also we get taught, and one of the
Mhm.
most like effective scripts that you can use to reach somebody is, "Hey, I'm a student." Like starting from that phrase, like, "Hey, I am a student, and I'm trying to do X, and I wanted to reach you because I have some doubts and pretty much wanted to see if you can help me out a little bit."
Yeah.
And the thing is that it has been proven that most people, especially if they are like successful, like they have this desire of teaching others.
Yeah.
And pretty much when they see like a student who has initiative, like everybody wants to help a student. So this speech, like, "Hey, I have friends who pretty much literally have fake being a student just to use that script and connect with big people."
I mean, hey, like whatever works. Because yeah, I can totally relate to that. Like anyone who just comes up and is like, "Hey, I'm just learning. Like, do you have any cool tips that you can share that like for someone who's just starting out?" And like, I don't know, that it's kind of like one of the most flattering things, like when someone looks at you and is like, "Oh, you are someone who's good at this and can help me out." Like, and so it's got to be like the same for most people. Like if you're coming to someone for help, then they're, I guess, more likely to give it just because it's such a nice thing to be like wanted, like someone wanting your help. So networking seems scary, but it's really not.
Definitely. Also, on the other hand, what was something that you completely expected out of your career that became true and is really important as well?
um I would say just like practice, just putting in the hours to get good. Like I guess I never like consciously thought that, like, oh yes, I mean I have lately, you know, but just starting out it's just like kind of a no-brainer, like, duh, you have to just do this a lot to be able to get good and like be able to create the things that you want to do. You have to just do it a ton. And it's I was in like in music and band in high school, and it's all the same. Like practice is like basically like a homework assignment in band. Like they specifically say the word practice. You have to practice for however many hours. But I feel like they don't do that in art classes as much. There's just assignments and you have to do the assignments, but it like is so helpful to just like set aside time, like literally like practice time. Like I'm going to sketch in my book for this time. I'm going to work on this thing that I suck at right now that I want to get better at. And you have to just put in the hours to get better at the thing you want to do.
Awesome. And this is something that I see as well with people making crafts. And as you
Mhm.
say, like they put the hours and they get really good at it. And then they face this problem of how to scale their business because they become kind of the perfectionist when making something. Like I have some friends who make some dolls,
Uh-huh.
and the problem that they have is that they would like that to become a business, but they
Yeah.
can't because they have seen that when they hire somebody else, like first it takes a lot of time to teach somebody else to do the same quality of work that you do and how do you do stuff. And even if you put the time teaching somebody on how to do the same things that you do, they do not put like the same passion. So pretty
Yeah.
much they end up like screwing up the work. And it's not that they don't know, it's that they don't care too much about the quality as the owners do. So
Mhm.
how did you solve that problem for you?
Um, well, I haven't really gotten to the point where I'm like legitimately hiring someone else to like do work for me, other than I guess my trying to work with the factory to get a specific plush design done. But one thing that I have been kind of shifting towards lately is more like simplified designs that I can do like a lot of. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I have any nearby. But on my website, I've got some pictures. Like I have these kitten nuggets that I do that I like at CTN. The last couple of years that I've been there, I just have like this candy jar full of like 150 kitten nuggets that people can buy, and they're all different colors, but they're all like basically the exact same like embroidery, like pattern and everything. And I made up that design that I can actually do. Like I sew them on my embroidery machine. And so I have like a computer file that basically does it for me. I've programmed. And so even though it's my design, I can like crank out a whole bunch of them because my embroidery machine is doing most of the work. And so I have a handful of designs that are like that are just very simplified. I can make a whole bunch of them and sell them, and that helps with keeping up with the demand. And then on the other hand, I can have my more like complicated and involved designs that like I would personally have to create and construct. And those I just like, I don't sell as many of, and they're more expensive. And so they're more of like a, I don't know, just like a one-of-a-kind piece, like art piece, rather than like a product like the kitten nuggets that I make. If that
Definitely
answers that.
you just touched something important that is that I have seen in a couple of friends of mine as well, who are like an artist, and even entrepreneurs who maybe have more like kind of the artist soul, because you took the path of getting something simplified. I see them trying to make things harder and harder because they want this kind of perfection. And they had this feeling that what they are doing is not enough, like it's not good enough yet. And then I go with the question of, are your customers happy? Like, do they like what you did or the service that you did to them? It's like, yeah, they are really happy. They gave me like good reviews. Then your product is good enough. Like, definitely you can do something better and sell it for higher later, but enough. and they fight a lot with that concept as well.
Yeah, that reminds me of this interesting idea that I've brought up with a couple of different people, specifically like with artists, is the idea of like selling out. Like one example that I can think of that people kind of bring up and make fun of a lot is Thomas Kincaid, who does like those kitschy little paintings and stuff that everyone has on like calendars and in their kitchens and everything, and they're just mass produced paintings. And it's an interesting idea because like he was very successful. Like he made these paintings that like the vast majority of people like, because they're just like these kitschy little things that are just generally pleasing, you know, and artists are like, oh god, it's so contrived, so silly, like these paintings, it's not real art. But like other businesses can sell out, you know, and be successful, and it's not like looked down upon. But with art, for some reason, that seems to be like a taboo kind of thing. But like Thomas Kincaid, like he made these paintings and mass produced them and stuff because they sold, like people liked them. And then he had his own like separate style that he would do paintings like just for himself. Like he wasn't necessarily doing those to make money. And so I would say with people who are worried about perfectionism and stuff, you can have like two different sides of your business, I guess, where you can make the stuff that customers like, that you can do really fast and like crank out and make money on, and that's like how you make your living. And then you can have your other stuff that maybe you don't sell as much because it's more like complicated and involved, but like it satisfies your craving for like creating something really cool and making your ideas like come to life without having to worry about like who's gonna buy this thing.
Definitely you just touched something important, that is that concept of the sellout. I even saw this video from a famous YouTuber called Anna Akana, which pretty much she started getting a lot of hate because at the end of her videos she was like, oh, this video was sponsored by, because she was getting paid to do
Yeah.
that. And obviously if she get paid, she can live better, she can do more art and things like
Yeah.
that. But everybody started to call her a sellout. And then she went into doing this research and found out that that word only happens in the creative industry. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't happen anywhere else. Like you say,
Yeah.
like, oh, big business is like selling a shit ton of things, and nobody's calling them a sellout. And like nobody's calling Disney a sellout or Pixar. But then an independent artist, a small artist, try to make a living, and it's like, oh, he's a sellout. Like what the?
Yeah. It's such a dumb idea, and people just need to like get over it and accept that like people need to make a living, and like if they want to make a living off of their art, and that's fine. It's not selling out, it's making a living.
Exactly. And on one hand, has there been a failure that you have, or apparent failure that set you up for big success or big opportunities later on? Or what would you call like a favorite failure of yours?
I would have to say that I'm kind of like in the thick of one of those right now. So I mentioned before the plush that I'm working on getting manufactured. So I started to do Kickstarter. That's my ultimate plan, is I'm going to bring a design to Kickstarter and like raise the funds to pay for the factory production and stuff, because that gets pretty pricey. And so to do a Kickstarter, you have to have like a prototype, like a physical thing to take pictures of. You can't just do like a drawing of here's what it's probably going to look like. And so a year ago, I started with this middleman company that I had like heard good reviews from, like a bunch of different artists had like over the years had like produced plush, and they're like, oh, I went with this company and they're really good. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll do it too, because everyone else does it. And it was just not a great experience. Like it turned out that they had, since everybody was recommending them, they were not super smart with their resources, and they took on basically everybody who sent in an application to make something, and they got like way overloaded with work, and they weren't able to keep up, and they were working with some like questionable factories because they just needed to take on more factories to fulfill their workload. And so by the end, like it ended up like a few weeks ago, I just like stopped the prototyping process with them and everything, because it just wasn't getting done. They weren't doing the changes that I wanted to, and it just was a huge waste of my time. And so I was just like, we're done. This isn't working out. But before I had done that, I brought my prototype to CTNX just in November, a couple months ago. And I was hoping that I would have like the finished thing and have the Kickstarter up by CTNX, so people, like I could have a link and people would be able to back it and stuff by CTNX, but it was just moving so slow that was just completely impossible. And so I was like, well, fine, I'll just have this prototype and I'll have an email sign up and be like, here's kind of what it'll look like. Hopefully it'll look better by the time it's finished, and then I'll have a Kickstarter. And I actually got in touch with someone else who had worked with that same middleman company, and was like, I also had a really bad experience, and because of it, I actually started my own middleman company, and we do this and this and this and this so much better, and would you be interested in joining us? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what I needed. And so I just sent in like the information and everything for them to start the prototype, and we're working on like Pantone colors and stuff right now. And so I can't like for sure say that it was like a failure turned success, because I don't have the finished product yet, but we're working on it and it seems like it's going pretty well. And so if I had just like stuck with this other company and just like settled like, well, we've gotten this far, so we might as well just like keep trucking, like, who knows, like it could be like another year and they still wouldn't have the prototype finished, or I would just have to settle for like this kind of mediocre design just to get it done, or maybe they wouldn't even be able to deliver once we got to the factory stage because they were just not getting stuff done well enough. And so it ended up that like having that experience and not having the Kickstarter up by the time CTNX happened, I was able to get in touch with someone who seems to be a lot more professional and can meet my needs a lot better. And like, even though the whole process has been a lot slower than I was hoping, I think it's going to end up for the best, and I'll be able to like deliver the quality of product that I want to. And so I'm excited about that.
It looks like it has been a very complicated process.
Yeah.
And this is a topic as well that many people think about, that when I see people trying to do their stuff or build a company or something like that, that they want this massive success and they want it fast.
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't realize is that they are not ready for that kind of thing, and that it is better to be growing like little by little, because if not, what you just mentioned happens. Like, if you get that big success and you're not ready, then you cannot fulfill all these things that people are asking of you, and that's bad. Like that's when your reputation pretty much gets smeared all over, and pretty much coming back up from that kind of bad reputation is really hard. It takes a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this company, they're like, everything has been crashing down for the past couple of months, and I feel bad because it's like they used to be doing a good job, and they just weren't smart with the stuff they took on, and because of it, it's like they have to basically build from scratch a new follower and like prove, no, we still are trustworthy, and they're just going to have to get like new clients, because most of the people who had been working with them for years are like, I can't do this anymore. You lost my trust and stuff. So it's super important to pace yourself. That's for sure.
And coming back to this topic of like being in the middle of this problem and and all these complications, I wanted to ask you, when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do to go back to the center?
I like to hop around from like different projects, because if I focus too much on one, then I feel like I get kind of burnt out, and I'll start like being super excited to get stuff done, and then it takes forever, and then I'm just like, I just don't even want to do this anymore. And so I need to, like, I guess, spread my focus out. And so like having those kitten nuggets, working on those for the various like conventions and shows and stuff that I've done is really nice, because it's basically mindless work. Like, I just like put the fabric in the machine and turn it on, and it does it, and it like doesn't require a whole ton of creative energy for me, but I have the satisfaction of getting a finished product by the end of it. And so I also, like, I've got a ukulele and I play that sometimes when I'm sick of like doing art, but I still want to feel creative. I'll just practice my ukulele. I'm not very good at it, but it's something to spend my time on when I'm just like need a break from art. I did that a lot in college when I was working on my senior show, my last couple of semesters, because it was basically like that was my only class. I was just working on that show, and it got kind of overwhelming. Like, just day in, day out, I'd get home from school and I would just like work on that, and I'm like, I can't focus on the stinking show anymore. And I got a ukulele for my birthday, and it was like just the thing I needed. I would just play ukulele, I'd practice on that and stuff, and it would just kind of be like a palate cleanser and refresh me. And then okay, I can get back into this. I can work on this art more, and it's fine.
Awesome. And coming to these questions of helping out people who are starting out, when you see people who are starting out in art, illustration, and crafts, what do you do to help them? Like, what are some tips that you have? Or what are some things that you have done? Or what do you think that they should do? Or what do you think that they should do? common mistakes that you see people making that they are not aware that they are making?
Hmm. I think, let's see, I guess it really depends on just like what stage they're at. But I guess people who are just starting out with art, I would say people limit themselves a lot with either with like what the medium they like to use or the subject matter of their art, or like the audience that they're trying to market to. I think people just don't experiment and branch out enough. Because I know in school I had a few friends that like they started out as like an illustration major or something because like they like watching cartoons or whatever, and they're like, illustration, that's what you do. And then like halfway through they'd take like a printmaking class and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I love printmaking, like this is my calling. And if they hadn't happened to take that printmaking class, you know, then they would just be doing illustration, and they were good at it, but it wasn't necessarily like the thing to do. And so I think it's just so important to just experiment with a whole ton of different stuff, because you just never know what might click with you that you would just never have thought you were good at. Like maybe you're super good at like 3-dimensional stuff and you never knew, because drawing is the easier thing, I guess. So yeah, I would just say just branch out, try a whole bunch of stuff, even if you're afraid you won't be good at it. Just try everything.
Definitely. One of my mentors says, like, how do you know, like, if you never tasted like a hamburger, for example, how would you know that you love it? Like if you never done. So and that is something really important of what you just say as well, because you know, when I was starting like studying for art, I started to see that I had like a really good skills for architecture, because we had like this class that it was one of the basics, but pretty much it was based in architecture, and they give it to us just in case we discovered that we liked that better and then make the jump. But I was in graphic design back then, and I realized that even though I didn't like it too much, I was really, really, really good at it. Like, people start, and I had a couple of friends who were like that, and people started to come to us to ask about doubts that they had on doing it instead of the teacher, and the teacher will get mad at them because of it. And then for many problems I had to change careers. So went to system engineering, and then happened the same time that happened again that even though I didn't like like coding a lot, I was really, really good at it, like pretty much cool. Just to give you an example, when I was in the class of programming 3, if I remember correctly, it was the third level of coding. During the first trimester, I didn't went to any class. Like pretty much, I skipped all the classes, and I was just pretty much delivering the homework, and that's it. And I will just skip it and go play with my friends and and go to pool or something like that. But then I came back for the exam at the end of the trimester. And the teacher there was like so confident that I was going to fail. and she gave me like this stank face, because pretty much I deserve it, because I have failed her respect by missing the classes. And I just sat and started doing these things, even though I haven't seen, like, I just asked, oh, what do we have to do? Oh, there it is. Okay, I started doing these things. And by the end of the exam, like she started like passing, seeing what we have done in the computer, and everybody was getting like bad grades. And then she comes next to me, like very confident that I was going to fail, and I see that her face goes like kind of mad, and she didn't say anything to me. And I was like, what was my grade, and I got like a 9. Our system is from 0 to 10, so,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I had like a 9, and I didn't got a 10 because I was messing with something else. Uh, I had to input the information, but I wanted this system to take the information from the computer automatically, so I didn't finish the program, and why I got a 9. I didn't like it very much. And until many years later, it all makes sense that my logical side was really good, and that was the reason why I was good at architecture. That was the reason why I was good at coding.
Mhm.
And now this is the reason why it works, like the marketing strategy, all these kind of things, like planning for business. It comes really easy to me. So now I have pretty much settled out the art part to my business partner, and I just focus on the business. And this time I really like it. It
Okay.
wasn't like those times that I was good but I didn't like it. But this time I really. But as you say, I didn't even knew, like, because
Yeah.
all my life I was being taught about getting a job.
Mhm.
So building a business was never an option. And I never knew until I was doing this thing, and people telling me like you're smart, and I didn't consider myself smart, but oh, like this comes easy to me. Like now all that makes sense. I'm with you with the part of that people should experiment way more, and even if they are like scary of making the cold calls and not working, they should do it because maybe they have this ability to connect with people and they don't know it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it's true.
So on the other hand, if you had like a smart, driven student in front of you, who is about to enter the real world, what will your advice will be to that student?
Um, let's see. I would say, um, let's see. Sorry, I took some notes on a Word document because I was like, I'm not going to just remember all of this. Okay. I would say an important thing that like I have thought was kind of a no-brainer, but I think some people just don't think of this. I guess especially students. Would be to just post your stuff online, like as you're making it. Like if you make something that you like post it online, start to gain a following. There was like a good amount of people at my school that just didn't have like a DeviantArt or a Tumblr or an Instagram or whatever your preferred mode of posting your stuff is. Like they weren't doing that. Like they were focusing on homework, they were focusing on working on like pleasing their professors and whatever. And they were talented, they were really good, but they like nobody knew outside of the school, like outside of the people that they saw like face to face every day. And so I know a few people who like didn't even start building that until after they graduated, and they're like, oh, people who like are in different states and different countries and whatever, like those are the people who need to see my art if I'm going to get a job. And so I think it's just super important to make sure that you are building an audience, you are like honing in on who you want your audience to be, like who you want to be like buying your stuff and who you're making art for. And yeah, just post a lot, post often.
Definitely. For I think many artists who just I saw this in CTNX like very vividly. I saw very good artists who are just focused on getting better at being an artist, and they are leaving totally aside the part of the business.
Yeah.
And I think even if you don't go completely into like full entrepreneur mode, because that takes a lot of time as well, they many artists should be at least, if they want a professional career between art, between the creative industry, I think they should take a little bit of time every day, basics of business and pitching and dealing and networking and all these things. Even how to become like really good at it, because if everybody else is focused on being an artist and you have a pitch that maybe you got from a millionaire book and read, and now you know this technique,
Yeah.
just by using this technique it puts you so much better than all the other people who are not using it.
Yeah, that's very true.
This other question is a bit hard, but I like to ask it anyways. Let's say you wake up tomorrow in a different dimension and nobody knows about you, but you have all your, pretty much you have a place to live, you have all your tools, you have all your experience and all your skills, and $500 in your pocket. What do you do to get back at this point in your professional career as soon as possible?
I like that you throw in that you've got a place to live, so you don't have to worry about like, I gotta survive. Oh, I would say look for, like, I mean, obviously post online, assuming this dimension has the internet. Just get your stuff out there. I would also like say look for, or I guess I'm saying what I would do. I would look for local opportunities, like local craft shows or art shows, or just open calls for art. Look around for just like artist communities that might exist out there, and like talk to people who own stores that sell like original art and other like people's prints and stuff, and just find, like, I would just find outlets to get my work in front of people, whether in person or online or whatever. Find places that I can like have a stack of business cards that people can take, so they can like find where I am, and just, I guess, just focus on like creating a following, so I have like a customer base, and then find out like what stuff of mine in this new dimension, what kind of stuff people like, and how that meshes with the kind of stuff that I want to make, and how to like create products and things that people will want to buy, and that I also find fulfilling. Is that a good answer to that?
Definitely. Also, you just mentioned that you have this page where people can register their email if they want to see your Kickstarter.
Yeah.
What's the URL for that? Page?
Let me see. I've got it. It's a link on my sidebar to my website. That is sogoods.plush.com, like SEW, So Goods. And then on my sidebar, there's a Leo Plush Kickstarter link. And so let's see. So I guess that's sogoods.plush.com/email-sign-up if you want the whole URL. And you can just put your email in there if you want an email when my Kickstarter goes up. It's not like an email subscription. I'm not going to send you like 20 emails a week like some people do. It's just going to be one email. When I have my Kickstarter up, if you're interested in buying that plush, that hopefully soon I'll have the prototype done and I'll be able to get it out to people.
Nice. Also, if people want to find you online, where would be the best places to do so?
Instagram and Tumblr are my main thing. So I'm So Goods Plush on Instagram, and then So Goods on Tumblr. And that's just where I post all my stuff.
Awesome. Is there any last advice that you would like to give to people that we haven't talked about into this interview yet?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I guess I've touched on a lot of things, but just keep making stuff, even if you like, even if it feels hard, even if you feel like the stuff you're making is crap lately or something, just keep working on it, and you'll eventually be making the stuff that you want to make. It's hard sometimes, but you got to push through and keep drawing, keep creating, and you'll get where you want to get to.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for being here and giving us your advice. I know that you must be busy working on all these projects, but I really appreciate that you took your time to be here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
So this has been the last episode of the Creative Hustler Show. If you like this interview, please click the like button below and also share it with your friends. Until next time.